Regulators are allowing trials to resume on an Ebola treatment that they previously put on hold. The decision to allow Tecmira to continue testing follows criticism that 2 Americans infected in West Africa were treated with an experimental drug called z-mapp. Well, the problem is that drug won't be available for months. The U.S. is also trying to speed up the approval of a drug made by Japan. Trials on the joint project with the U.S. aren't scheduled to end until next March. And the World Health Organization says now 932 people have been confirmed dead since Ebola started in the region. Spain is the latest country outside of West Africa to treat one of its own nationals, a missionary infected in Liberia. Liberia's government is now preventing people from leaving the country. And Nigeria's health minister warned that the disease is a global problem.
Indeed, we have an emergency on our hands. For me, yes, it's a national emergency. But for all of us here, it's a global emergency. The second thing is that everyone is at risk. Every nation is at risk, and every individual is at risk.
The international community is mobilizing financially to try to stem the tide of the disease. The World Bank is among those, putting up money, contributing $200 million. And our special guest today is Phil Hay, who is the bank's Africa spokesperson. He joins me right now. First of all, welcome. Thank you for talking about this very important topic. We have been talking about this for weeks. It's gotten worse and worse. The World Bank made a decision to basically give $200 million. A lot of people are critical, saying it's not money they need, but it's professionals and people. They need those on the ground. So let me start with, what's the $200 million? What will it do?
Phil, 3 things. First of all, let me just say, this couldn't have happened in a more unfortunate part of Africa. These countries were already some of the poorest on the continent, and poverty levels in excess of 60%. We're involved in this for a development response. WHO and the 3 countries have appealed for help in 3 ways. Fast dispersing money to help replenish the medical supplies that are running very low in the hospitals, surgical gloves, IV kits, biohazard suits, and paying the salaries of workers who are on the front lines in trying to stop this epidemic in its tracks and make sure it doesn't come back. A couple of other bits, Phil. We also want to make sure that families who are going through significant financial hardship at the moment have the money and have the social safety welfare system at their disposal to get through this worst Ebola outbreak the world has ever seen. Third, having stopped the Ebola epidemic in its tracks, we can't afford to let it come back. We need more laboratories, we need stronger health systems. You know, the very systems that we take for granted in OECD countries that make sure that these novel viruses don't get the foothold here that they do elsewhere.
Let me say, first of all, it's great that the World Bank is providing funds, but the criticism still stands that why didn't the world do more? Not about the World Bank, but other global organizations. Do you feel that they could have done more or should have done more earlier?
It's never a terribly productive line of questioning, Phil. I mean, it's understandable people have these, very high emotions right at the time. My sympathy goes to the health workers and to these governments in this part of West Africa where health systems are already overstretched even before the Ebola epidemic struck. I think they've been doing the best they can. WHO has sounded the alarm. We heard the SOS from them and the 3 countries of the region, and have been responded very quickly and mobilized $200 million. Some of it's going to be there within a matter of days, a larger sum coming, but we heard the call and we responded.
One of the things that you mentioned is that it's going to provide, as you can see, you need the apparatus, right? You need the spacesuits, as we call them,
exactly,
to protect yourself. The training involved, it's not something you just walk in and you can fix the problem. This involves training by senior doctors to junior doctors and medical staff to nurses to everybody on the front lines. How much of that money, or how much should go to sort of education and training?
So $75 million of our money will go immediately to replenishing the kind of medical supplies these hospitals and clinics ran out of weeks ago. But you're right. So in stopping the infection from going into neighboring countries, you do have to go into that sort of longer term a case for better training, you know, a much better idea of when to spot new viruses when they come along. You know, my heart goes out to the health workers who are doing the best they can. They're dying in sort of...
I mean, they must be awfully scared. I mean, I can't even imagine being in those shoes. We have another minute, and I want to ask you, are there other organizations you'd like to see do more, or perhaps might be a partner to the World Bank to provide additional assistance, whether it's NGOs or other major organizations out there?
Phil, so what happens in a global emergency, regional emergency like this is, we look to the World Health Organization, and Margaret Chan, their Director General, is a virus fighter from way back in her home country of Hong Kong. She knows how to do this. The WHO have an incredible system of emergency response. There's, you know, the West Africa community, economic community of West African states. There's Médecins Sans Frontières, there's the Pasteur Institute, CDC from the United States. I think everyone is heeding the call and responding, and with unprecedented skill and determination. It is going to take a while, as Tom Frieden from CDC has said just a short while ago. This is the most, you know, the most important outbreak of Ebola we have ever seen since it was first discovered in 1976 in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's going to take a while, Phil, to get this under control, but organizations like the World Bank are there on the front line to help.
Phil Hayes, World Bank, Africa region, thank you very much. It's good that the awareness is there, the response has begun, so let's see how